Louisville's head coach has called out the greatest of all time, Nick Saban. And if you don't want to say he called him out, he's definitely throwing shots at him. What makes this even better and why I'm making a video on it is because Nick Saban responded to it today. Not going to make this a real long video. I'm just going to try to keep it short and sweet. So we all know the NIL, the transfer portal. There's so much stuff going on, and let's just be real here. Tampering is more than likely happening. Who's doing the tampering? What's the extent to the tampering? That's the questions we don't really know. Are these head coaches, for example, like Lincoln Riley, reaching out to other recruits and trying to bribe them away from their school? I personally just don't see that happening, and I have a hard time trying to even imagine Lincoln Riley calling up Jordan Addison while he was on Pittsburgh's roster and saying, hey, why don't you come out here and we'll give you $3 or $4 million in a mansion? A main reason for that is because I don't think Lincoln Riley is that desperate to get a great wide receiver or any player in general. He's in the state of California. He can get a 4 or 5 star wide receiver in his backyard. But for the sake of this video, let's say you do believe Lincoln Riley is tampering. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Everyone's doing it. The only reason Lincoln Riley is the poster boy for this tampering going on, quote unquote, is because everyone hated him already, and this just gives them more fuel to their fire. I'll give you a great example. I'm sure some of you can relate to this. There's at least 1 to 2 people you don't really hate, but you dislike them. And whenever you hate or dislike somebody, whatever you want to call it, you try to find out more reasons to hate them. That's not kind of, that's exactly what's going on with Lincoln Riley. We could talk about tampering all day long because it's such a broad situation. Here's the bottom line. Even if there is tampering going on, let's say Lincoln Riley illegally recruited Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison, how are you going to prove it? That's the biggest problem everybody's facing right now. Even if he did do it and we don't know if he did, how are you going to prove those allegations? And the bottom line is, whether you like it or not, you're not going to be able to prove any of it. Is it really Lincoln Riley's fault that boosters are paying these kids? I don't think so. Anyways, getting on topic with this video, we're not here to talk about USC, Texas, or any school like that. We're here to talk about Nick Saban in Alabama, and a head coach, more specifically, Louisville's head coach, has called him out. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. Louisville's head coach has called out the greatest of all time, Nick Saban. And if you don't want to say he called him out, he's definitely throwing shots at him. What makes this even better and why I'm making a video on it is because Nick Saban responded to it today. I'm not doing an intro or none of that. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 200K. Let's just get straight into it. Like I was just saying, Louisville's head coach, Scott Satterfield, accused Alabama and Nick Saban of tampering. You may be wondering why in the heck would Louisville accuse Alabama of that, and that's because their star wide receiver, he transferred there recently. Let's just be honest here for a second and look at the facts. Fact number 1. Does Alabama need to tamper? No. Players want to go there regardless. Why do players want to go there? It's fairly simple. They have a great tradition, they win a lot of games, they win a lot of championships, and they get all these guys to the NFL better than any other school. And if you're a 4 or 5 star recruit coming out of high school, you're not trying to get $500,000 or $1 million in NIL deals. You're wanting to get to the NFL and get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't want to underestimate or undervalue how much a couple $1,000,000 is for a college person and a college football player, but compared to the NFL, it's nothing. I firmly believe Alabama is one of the few schools where you could tell them, hey, you can't use the transfer portal and you can't use NIL, and they'd be just fine. They just have that good of a reputation. Players want to go there regardless. And now the fact these players can make money, they're especially going to want to go to Alabama. Fact number 2, Nick Saban, he's the old school head coach and he does it by the book. I don't think in a million years he would tamper. And like I said, it goes in with number 1. He doesn't need to. And maybe I could be wrong. He could try to do some sleazy stuff or sneaky stuff here and there, but I just don't think that's the type of person he is. He wants to do it the right way, and he's proven over time that's the best way to do it. Fact number 3, whenever you transfer to Alabama, let's look at Jameson Williams for example, your career is going to thrive. Alabama's got all these 4 and 5 star recruits, all these star players out of the transfer portal recently because they saw what Jameson Williams did. Whenever you see a guy who was a nobody at Ohio State go to Alabama and become a first-round draft pick, yeah, it does something. These players pay attention to stuff like that, and that helped out Alabama tremendously. I want to give credit to their staff. They know how to develop players and get them to the next level. They do it better than any other school. Take nothing away from Jameson Williams. He was talented, and at Ohio State there was a lot of other great wide receivers in front of him, But come on now, he definitely should have been playing a little more for Ohio State. Alabama is an attractive school to go to if you're a big-time baller and a big-time recruit. I try to look at this from a football player standpoint. From a fan standpoint, me, you, and people watching Alabama play on Saturdays, of course, we want to go there because they're always winning. But from a player standpoint, you also have to take this into account. What school is going to get me to the NFL the quickest and get me drafted the highest? You want to win games, but the ultimate goal for any college football player, or most of them, is to get to the NFL and make a ton of money. What all these recruits have noticed, what all these transfer portal players have noticed, everybody's seen it. Alabama, they get players to the NFL. So with all that being said, I said all that to say this. Alabama has no reason to tamper whatsoever. I don't even think it'd benefit them. The allegations that Louisville's head coach is trying to insinuate that Nick Saban has tampered, it's just ridiculous. If you want to say Lincoln Riley tampered, cool, not a big deal because people are going to agree with you. If you want to say Texas is tampering, cool, people are going to agree with you. But Alabama, no. Come on, man. When you say Alabama's tampering, that is when not just me, because I don't care, but fans across the country are going to look at you like you're stupid. It's for all the reasons like I just said. They don't have to tamper, and they wouldn't tamper. The brand of Alabama, it really speaks for itself. It's almost like a pretty girl. She doesn't have to tell you she's pretty. She knows she's pretty. That's how Alabama is in football. Nick Saban doesn't have to go after these guys in the transfer portal. They're coming to him. The wide receiver that's kind of caused all this controversy or whatever you want to call it going on, he goes by the name of Tyler Harrell. He's one of the fastest receivers in the country, and I think he's going to ball out at Bama and help Bryce Young a ton. And I get it, if you're a head coach, you're going to be somewhat salty your star wide receiver has left your program. But to call out Nick Saban and say he tampered or illegally recruited your former wide receiver, like I said, it's just utterly insane. Nick Saban responded to those claims today, and here's what he said. We don't tamper with anybody, so I don't know about anything or anybody that tampered with him. He also added to that statement and said this. I don't really know that anybody's really ever tampered with our players. I just think sometimes when things happen, it makes you wonder. So I'm not making any accusations against anybody that's done anything with our players, and I don't have any knowledge of anybody that's done anything with anybody else's players. Sometimes, or not really sometimes, a lot of times when somebody's lying about something, you can tell by their body language or in their tone of voice. However, when I heard Nick Saban say that and saw how he was acting, he was shocked about the accusations and he couldn't believe it. It sounds like I'm repeating myself, but I think Nick Saban's thinking the same thing we are. Why would Alabama tamper? Is getting one wide receiver that Bama doesn't really need worth ruining the program and getting banned or whatever the actions would be? No, not in a million years. Nick Saban knows the consequences of what would happen if he tried something like that. He wouldn't risk it. I'm not trying to disrespect Tyler Harrell. I think he's a great pickup, but he's more of a won't. You don't really need him if you're Bama. It's kind of like a Lamborghini. You don't need a Lamborghini, but everybody wants one. It's more of a luxury to get players out of the transfer portal. It's not a need. I am very curious though. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think Nick Saban tampered? Do you think they would ever tamper in a million years? Drop your comments down below. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about it, and I've said the same thing with Lincoln Riley. All these coaches are complaining when their star players are going to these other colleges, but I guarantee you, if a star player from USC wanted to go to, for example, Louisville, that head coach, he wouldn't be crying or complaining. I just think it's really hypocritical. Let me know your thoughts down below. Bye. Peace.